Okay, everyone. I'm Steven, and this is going to be a little bit of walkthrough for my CSCI 3287 Database Systems final course project. First, in my write-up that I also submitted to you guys, I'd like to point out that if you are interested, you can go to the GitHub, and it has my Python notebook, all the CSV files, so you could load this, use all the data that I use to run the queries and stuff. Make your own queries if you're interested in becoming millionaires from my NBA gambling project. So, like my write-up says, the whole point of my project was to create a database that I could then run some queries against multiple tables and see what the results gave me about the NBA season and how wins and losses work and if there's any sort of gambling insight. But you guys can read all of that in the write-up. I outline it there. So here's my Jupyter notebook, and similar to what we've done before, I load some extensions that I needed to use, like SQL Alchemy, Pandas, GetPass, because I'm going to use GetPass to upload my Elephant SQL database. So the very first thing I do is I create a table of the NBA schedules, and you can read through this. It has things you would expect, like the ID, the road and home teams' names, how many minutes were played, how much rest everyone got. I convert this with pandas to read in the CSV file, convert that to a dictionary, kind of double check everything, and then right here's the query that I use to upload everything to the database. This is just a sanity check to make sure it works. Run through all that, do the exact same thing for NBA cities, make sure my NBA cities have a lat and a long. After getting a lat and a long, I then go through and make a geography point, so I'm able to run PostGIS st distance queries for some of my queries that I'm looking to do. And after that, it's just onto the query. So the first thing that I wanted to look at is what's just the average home team score and the average road team score in an NBA season. And it's 107 and 105. So really no great data insight there. Home teams and road teams score about the same amount of points. After this, what I ended up doing was running a variety of queries to see how many games teams won depending on the rest. So this query right here, what it's saying is the road team was on a B2B, which stands for back-to-back. The home team had at least one day of rest, and the road team score was greater than the home team score, meaning the road team won. In all of the NBA season, the road team only won those games where that scenario occurred 15 times. So as you'll see as a repeating manner throughout this notebook, I run the query, I just limit it to 5 so we can kind of see how the data is working. Then I run the full query and just print the length of it because that's going to give me the total number of games where that occurred. So then I was curious, how often did the road team lose? So this is the exact same query, only the scores flipped. Now the road team scored less than the home team. Well, this occurred 31 times. So, okay, basically 33% of the time the road team wins, and 66% of the time the home team wins when the road team is on a back-to-back, meaning they're not rested, and the home team has at least rested for one day. That's some interesting data right there from a gambling perspective. Then I basically run through a variety of queries with different rests and all of that. And you can read through those with the GitHub link I provided you. But basically, it all comes out to when the home team is in a rest positive manner, meaning they at least had one day of rest, and the home team is traveling and has played a back-to-back, or worse, it's their third game in 4 nights, or even really worse, it's their third game in 4 nights and it's a back-to-back. The home team wins about 62.5% of the time, which is interesting because professional gamblers shoot to win games about 55% of the time long term. So this is giving us about a 7.5% higher winning percentage than what professional gamblers even shoot for. So to dig into the data a little bit more, I created a team's wins and losses table because I wanted to see, all right, what if the home team's well rested? They're good, meaning they were over 500, they won 43 games or more, and the road team is not well rested. And so I go ahead and set up a team's wins losses table because for here, after I insert all the data into that table, I'm going to want to run joins against it where I can join my NBA schedule table on my wins losses table and run some queries to give me more insightful I had to have some more insight into my queries. So I run some similar queries from here, except now I'm joining the two tables where the home team has at least won more than 42 games. And these are some similar queries to before, except now I'm performing joins on the ancillary wins-loss tables. And again, you can read through these. It'll be easier with the GitHub link I provided. But I summarize it all in a write-up and down in this markdown table. Here, if the road team's good, meaning they won more than 43 games and they're rested, and the road team is not rested, the home team wins 69% of the time. AKA, show me the money. We are going to make bank off of those bets long terms. We would win 121 of our bets and only lose 38. Obviously, this isn't taking into account point spreads and how much you'd have to actually bet on the game, but this is some data actually worth looking into. Briefly, I looked at some geo queries just to see like where are the two NBA cities that are farthest apart, Miami and Portland. Makes sense. What are the two closest? Brooklyn and New York. That makes sense. They're only 4 miles apart, while Miami and Portland are 2,708 miles apart. I use this little transformation factor to go from meters to miles if you're curious for geospacing. And then at the end of the day, I have one bigger inner join where I run a nested select. And basically what this is telling me is what happens when the road team is really far away and the home team has well rested and the road team's not well rested? Well, only 4 occurrences of this happen. And let me just switch this query to see what the inverse is. Also not great. I'll have to look into that error more. But basically, as you can see, the data is showing us that travel distance affects teams, rest affects teams, and winning percentage affects teams. So if you want, you can go ahead and load this up, all the codes up on GitHub. It should be pretty self-explanatory to run through Jupyter Notebook. I realized here I didn't restart my connection to the database, which is why it isn't running. But at the end of the day, basically a road team's not going to win that much when they're really far from home, they're not rested, and the home team was at least decent. So all of this gives us some interesting insight into the NBA season, and yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.